Kurtop here, and these are 100 incredible finds that no one can explain. Destroyed history with water. A 39-year-old man in Spain decided to pour water on 6,000-year-old cave paintings to get better photos for his social media. He irreparably damaged the ancient images, which are located in various places in the Sierra Sur de Jaén mountain range. These cave paintings are considered part of the country's cultural heritage. The images are made on limestone, which contains water-soluble salts. When exposed to water, the salts dissolve and then settle on the surface, forming a crust. This leads to irreparable damage to the ancient works of art. He is now on trial for a crime against historical heritage. Cloning lab. A truly shocking discovery has been made in the Carpathian Mountains of Romania, an abandoned laboratory that is rumored to have been used by the Nazis for cloning experiments. This secret facility, hidden deep in the mountains, remained unknown for a long time, but recent excavations have uncovered fragments of equipment, containers for storing biological samples, and journals with scientists' notes. This lab could have been part of a larger Third Reich program aimed at creating the perfect man. The Nazis were keenly interested in genetics and biology in order to create a race of ideal soldiers. Strong, resilient, and completely obedient. The discovery of the lab in the Carpathians lends credence to these rumors. The equipment found includes bioreactors, life support devices, and glass containers that were likely used to store biological materials and tissue samples. Some of the containers contain traces of substances that may have been used for genetic manipulation. The documents found here describe experiments in animal cloning, specifically attempts to duplicate genetic material to create identical organisms. Some records indicate ambitions to create not only copies of animals, but also to reproduce genetically enhanced humans. In addition, traces of experiments in the accelerated development of cells and organs were found, which may indicate attempts to artificially grow body parts. These studies, if they were indeed conducted on living creatures, indicate the extremes to which the Nazis resorted in their scientific research. The laboratory was suddenly abandoned in the last months of the war when the Nazis began to retreat from the region. Many documents were destroyed, but the surviving fragments make it clear that the work was carried out at an extremely high level for its time. There is now an official ban on the study of cloning throughout the world. However, there is evidence that similar experiments are still being carried out today in China, the United States, Great Britain, and Israel. 1,000-year-old collection of medieval games. Archaeologists have discovered a collection of medieval gaming items in a forgotten castle in southern Germany. Among the finds are a well-preserved chess piece, game pieces, and bones dating from the 11th to 12th centuries. These items provide a unique insight into early gaming culture. Particularly significant is the found chess piece in the form of a knight, which dates back to the early period of the spread of chess in Europe. Laboratory tests showed that one of the sides played with red pieces. Traces of use on the figure indicate that the rules of the game have been preserved to this day. In the Middle Ages, chess was one of the 7 skills that a good knight had to master. This explains why many chess piece finds come from castles. In addition to the chess piece, floral game pieces and a 6-dot dice carved from antlers were found. These artifacts, found under the rubble of the wall, allow scientists to gain a deeper understanding of the gaming culture of the medieval nobility. In the future, the researchers plan to conduct further analyses to learn more about the origins of European chess and the significance of the games in the lives of medieval knights. Pluto Gate. In 2013, an amazing discovery was made in Turkey, an ancient sanctuary also known as the Gateway to Hell. This mystical place has attracted the attention of archaeologists for its deadly fumes, killing all animals that approach them. The discovery was made in the ancient city of Hierapolis, located in the modern province of Denizli. Pluto's gate was dedicated to the ancient Roman god of the underworld, Pluto. They were a cave from which poisonous gases emanated. These fumes contain a high concentration of carbon dioxide, which makes the air lethal to any living beings. The priests of the ancient sanctuary demonstrated the power of the gods by leading the animals to the gate, where they instantly died from the poisonous gas. Archaeologists have determined that high concentrations of carbon dioxide came from deep fissures in the ground running underneath the sanctuary. The gas reaches the surface and accumulates in the cave, creating a deadly atmosphere. This natural phenomenon was known to the ancient Romans and was used for ritual purposes. The discovery of Pluto's gate not only revealed the secrets of the ancient sanctuary, but also demonstrated how natural phenomena could be used in the religious rituals of antiquity. Melting glaciers will cause a new pandemic. Researchers at Ohio State University have made an incredible discovery, finding more than 1,700 previously unknown viruses in an ice core extracted from the Göbekli Glacier on the Tibetan Plateau. The ice core was drilled more than 300 meters deep and divided into 9 segments, each covering different time horizons and climate periods. The segments range in age from 160 to 41000 years. Using metagenomic analysis, the scientists were able to identify viral strains, collecting 50 times more virus data than was previously known. They found that viral communities varied significantly depending on the climate conditions during their preservation in the ice. This discovery raises concerns that as glaciers melt, pathogens capable of causing deadly pandemics could be released. Immediately after the study was published, rapper Chris Bridges posted a video of himself drinking meltwater from a glacier in Alaska. The video quickly racked up millions of views, raising concerns that he was putting himself at risk by drinking untreated glacial water. However, glaciologists have assured that water from melted glaciers is generally safe and is considered the cleanest water you can get. However, scientists warn of a real threat of new pandemics due to the release of ancient viruses. An example is the 2016 anthrax outbreak when spores were released from melting permafrost. Fortunately, the viruses found in Göbekli Glacier are not dangerous to humans and are only capable of infecting archaea and bacteria. Church seal from the 13th century. In Suffolk, England, Paul Henderson and his 10-year-old son George went on a search expedition to the fields of Woodbridge. Arming their son with a metal detector, they did not keep themselves waiting. Within 10 minutes, the device gave a signal. At a depth of 12 centimeters, George discovered an unusual flat, oval-shaped object with pointed corners, which shocked his father. This item surpassed all previous finds of George, who has been involved in this hobby with his father since childhood. Paul, as a history buff, immediately recognized the item as a copper medieval seal. It is decorated with an image of the Virgin Mary and Child and a Latin inscription indicating its affiliation with the Batley Monastery. Returning home, father and son turned to the coroner, who confirmed that the seal dates back to the beginning of the 13th century and has great historical value. The seal was later sold at auction for £4,000, with the proceeds divided between George and the owner of the field. Sword of Pharaoh Ramses II. Archaeologists are increasingly making discoveries in northern Egypt. Recently, a sword of Pharaoh Ramses II was discovered there. Excavations were conducted in the province of El Buhaira, where architectural blocks were found that were once part of military barracks and weapons depots. In addition, personal belongings of soldiers of that time were found. This find confirms the importance of the El Abqain fort as a key point of the Egyptian army. The sword found is made of bronze and has a cartouche with the name of Ramses II. Weapons, amulets, hygiene products, and the burial of a cow were also found. Ramses II, who reigned for more than 60 years, is considered one of the greatest pharaohs of Egypt. Winged demon on ancient seal. A 2,700-year-old stone seal depicting a winged figure in Hebrew inscriptions has been discovered in Israel. The find was made near the southern wall of the Temple Mount and dates back to the First Temple period. The seal is made of black stone and is decorated with an inscription that translates as "For Yehoezer, son of Hoshayahu." Archaeologists have noted that this is one of the most beautiful seals found in Jerusalem. The seal depicts a winged figure dressed in a striped shirt and headdress. According to Assyriologist Dr. Philip Vukosavowicz, such winged demons are found in Neo-Assyrian art from the 9th to 7th centuries BC and served as protective magical figures. The seal probably belonged to a high-ranking official of the Kingdom of Judea and served as an amulet and symbol of power. It reflects not only the Assyrian influence, but also the owner's connection with the local Jewish culture. Alien creatures or unique people. In 2017, in a cave in the southern Peruvian city of Nazca, journalist and ufologist Jaime Mawson discovered 6 unusual mummies with elongated skulls and 3 fingers. He stated that they were alien creatures. The finds included 4 men, 1 woman, and an infant. Mawson presented the mummies before the Mexican Congress, claiming they were of alien origin. Despite his confidence, experts considered the mummies to be fakes. However, recent studies of one of the mummies designated Maria M01 have yielded new unexpected results. Peruvian scientists analyzed Maria using electron microscopy and X-ray diffraction. It turned out that Maria has biological similarities with humans. Her bones smoothly pass under the mummified shell, and the elongated skull shows no signs of artificial deformation. The cranial vault shows atypical growth and development, and its volume is 30% greater than that of the average person. Maria is also distinguished by her lack of hair and ears, 3 fingers with 4 phalanges on her hands and feet, bulging eyes, and protruding jaws. Mary's feet have a unique structure. The calcaneus is different from a human's, suggesting it walked hunched over. Maria also suffered from arthritis and had a damaged spine. Maria lived during the same period as the Nazca civilization. This may indicate her connection with this culture. Previous DNA studies suggested that the mummies were modified remains of pre-Columbian people. The new study raises more questions than it answers. Scientists cannot accurately determine Mary's origins or her unique characteristics. Further research, including genetic tests, is needed to fully understand these remains. The fact that the ancient alien mummy bears many similarities to a real person further complicates understanding our past. Now it is even more difficult for us to understand who lived on our planet hundreds and thousands of years ago. Ancient structure in the Black Sea. Off the coast of Abkhazia, scientists, as part of an international underwater archaeological expedition, discovered important archaeological finds. Using special equipment and divers, they explored depths from 1 to 60 meters in the waters of the cities of Gudauta and Sukhum. The most significant find was the discovery of the remains of a medieval structure in Sukhumi Bay at the mouth of the Bezletka River, where the ancient city of Dioskuria was supposedly located. In this area, where an ancient stele had previously been found, archaeologists discovered semicircular masonry, probably a tower with attached walls. It is made of large pebbles with lime mortar. The masonry contains ceramics. Due to the large amount of sand and silt in the water, it was difficult to photograph the object, so a detailed survey of it is planned for 2024 to 2025. In the waters of the city of Gudauta, archaeologists found many vessels from the ancient and medieval periods, including an amphora at a depth of 50 meters. Skull 270 million years old. A fossilized skull belonging to an ancient ancestor of amphibians has been discovered in the collection of the Smithsonian University's National Museum of Natural History. Its approximate age is 270 million years. Scientists describe the skull as a new species of proto-amphibian named Kermitops gratis after the famous Muppet, Kermit the Frog. One George Washington University student emphasized the importance of using popular names to draw attention to scientific discoveries. He noted that the name Kermit is ideal to describe the ancient amphibian, connecting it with modern representatives of this class of animals. The skull was found by paleontologist Nicholas Houghton during field research in Texas, in an area known as the Red Barrels. This area, dating back to the early Permian period, contains many fossils, including the remains of ancient reptiles and amphibians. After its discovery in 1984, the skull lay in museum collections for decades until it was examined by Arjan Mann, who singled it out from other specimens for detailed study. The joint efforts of researchers helped establish that the found skull belongs to a new genus of ancient amphibians. The first astronomical observatory. A newly discovered ancient Egyptian observatory, the first of its kind, demonstrates the Egyptians' deep knowledge of astronomy and their close connection to spiritual and ritual practices. It is the largest and first known observatory in Egyptian history. The remains of the 6th century BC structure were found 3 years ago during excavations at the ancient city of Buto, now known as Tel El Farayin, in the governorate of Kafr el-Sheikh. Everything we found exceeded our expectations, said Hossam Ghonim, director of the Kafr el-Sheikh Antiquities Authority and leader of the archaeological mission. Archaeologists have uncovered the remains of an L-shaped mud brick building covering an area of about 850 square meters. The eastern entrance leads to a spot where sunlight illuminated a solar and stargazing point where an astronomer priest stood. On the walls, there is an image of him facing the rising sun, symbolizing the connection of the ancient Egyptians with the cosmos. Initially, the researchers thought that they had discovered a temple, but the discovery of artifacts and inscriptions related to astronomy, such as a sundial and other timekeeping instruments, led to the conclusion that it was an observatory. Inside the hall, astronomical images of the sunrise and sunset over the 3 seasons were found. The artifacts found, such as statues of Horus and Osiris, as well as a bronze figurine of Osiris with a snake, confirmed the importance of the spiritual and scientific role of the observatory. The search for Antarctic Base 211. The legend of Base 211 inches in Antarctica is one of the most mysterious theories associated with the Nazis. According to rumors, the Nazis may have built a secret base in this isolated region during World War II to hide after their defeat. The base was allegedly located in the Queen Maud Land region and was equipped with advanced technology that allowed the Nazis to survive in the harsh conditions of Antarctica. Recent studies and expeditions have generated a new wave of interest in this theory. In recent years, several artifacts have been found, including fragments of equipment and items with characteristic German markings, which may have belonged to German expeditions to Antarctica. Some researchers claim that this is evidence of Nazi presence in the region, although most scientists do not believe this. There is also evidence of German attempts to establish bases in Antarctica during the 1938 expedition, but no evidence has been found of the existence of Base 211. Despite the lack of direct evidence, myths about a secret base continue to excite researchers and conspiracy theorists. Time of troubles in Russia. The eruption of the Huayna volcano in Peru on February 19, 1600, influenced one of the darkest periods in Russian history, the Time of Troubles. This period coincided with the Little Ice Age, when solar activity decreased and the Gulf Stream changed. However, the decisive role in climate change was played by the volcanic eruption, which threw a huge amount of ash into the atmosphere, which led to a sharp, cold snap. The summer of 1601 in Russia was abnormally cold and rainy, which is why the harvest did not ripen. Frost hit unusually early, destroying crops. The next 2 years were just as harsh. Torrential rains and snow fell in the summer. The price of bread increased 18 times, which led to famine and mass deaths. In 1604 in Moscow, even in the summer, people traveled by sleigh and bread cost 25 times more than in well-fed times. Tsar Boris Godunov tried to cope with the crisis by banning speculation in grain and organizing its free distribution. However, the rich kept grain stocks, ignoring the Tsar's decrees. Godunov also tried to ease the situation of the peasants by allowing them to leave the lands of their masters, but the nobility resisted this. The peasants began to blame the Tsar, seeing God's punishment in the disasters. Popular unrest intensified. In 1605, Boris Godunov died under mysterious circumstances, and his son Fyodor took the throne. However, Fyodor and his mother were soon killed, which led to the Time of Troubles. It ended only in 1613 when Mikhail Romanov, the founder of a new dynasty, ascended the throne. This is how a volcanic eruption in South America affected a country that was thousands of kilometers away, and created a terrible crisis and famine for several years. Ruins of an ancient civilization underwater. In the early 2000s, a team of researchers led by the Canadian company Advanced Digital Communications made a sensational discovery off the coast of Cuba. At a depth of about 750 meters, strange structures resembling stone structures were discovered on the ocean floor. These structures looked like organized rows of giant stone blocks, some of which had a regular rectangular shape and resembled massive walls or pyramidal structures. The initial results of underwater research carried out using modern sonar led to the hypothesis of the possible existence of a sunken city that could have been absorbed by the ocean tens of thousands of years ago. According to some estimates, the age of these ruins may exceed 50,000 years, which is significantly older than the earliest known civilizations, such as Sumer and ancient Egypt. This makes the possible discovery even more intriguing since it suggests the existence of ancient and possibly highly developed cultures that science does not yet know anything about. Some scientists believe that these ruins may represent the remains of an ancient city built before the last ice age, when the ocean level was much lower. There is a suggestion that this area may have been inhabited by ancient peoples who were later forced to leave their homes due to rising sea levels. This hypothesis finds support among supporters of the theory of the existence of ancient sunken continents, such as Atlantis described in the works of Plato. Some geologists suggest that these formations may be the result of natural geological processes such as erosion, earthquakes, and other movements of the Earth's crust. Further research and analysis of the underwater ruins off the coast of Cuba will require significant resources and time. Let's hope that the authorities will find the funds to study these ancient ruins. Connection to ancient Egyptian priests. Among the many occult theories that interested the Nazis, the idea of ancient Egyptian priests occupied a special place. The leaders of the Third Reich, especially members of the Ahnenerbe, believed that ancient Egyptian priests possessed secret knowledge about the afterlife, magic, and power over death. This knowledge, in their opinion, could be used to achieve control over spiritual and physical forces, which would make the Nazis invincible. Nazi expeditions to Egypt, organized under the auspices of the Ahnenerbe, were aimed at finding ancient artifacts associated with the pharaohs and their rituals. Of particular interest was the cult of Osiris, the god of the afterlife and rebirth, symbolizing eternal life and strength. Osiris, as the patron of resurrection and the cycles of life, could, according to the Nazis, give them the key to immortality and control over the soul. The expeditions were supposed to find ancient texts and artifacts that could reveal the secrets of the priestly rites performed in the temples and pyramids. The Nazis were looking for magical objects such as wands, amulets, and sacred scrolls that could give them access to spiritual power using the magical rites of the ancient priests. Although no official evidence of successful finds or magical artifacts was ever presented, the Nazi elite believed that the ancient Egyptian priests possessed true knowledge about the nature of life and death. A bearded European in ancient China. Archaeologists in China have discovered a unique Tang Dynasty tomb decorated with colorful murals that shed light on daily life in the 8th century. Of particular interest is the depiction of a fair-haired bearded man believed to be of European descent. The tomb was discovered in 2018 during a road renovation in Shaanxi province, but details of the excavations have only recently become known. The walls are decorated with scenes from life done in the style of figures under trees. They depict daily activities: women pounding grain, men making noodles, collecting water, and processing rice. The tomb belonged to a man who died in 736 CE at the age of 63, and his wife. Almost all the figures are depicted as ethnic Chinese, with the exception of one man with fair hair and a beard. History professor Victor Xiong believes that he was a Sogdian, a Central Asian who was probably active on the Silk Road trade routes. The frescoes occupy the entire tomb except the floor and are executed in a style typical of the Tang Dynasty. Clear outlines, simple shading, and two-dimensional images. In addition to the wall paintings, the gate, corridor, and pedestal were decorated. The roof of the dome is distinguished by a dragon design. The presence of a Western man adds mystery to the familiar picture of the lives of nobles of that time. God statue in the sewer. During excavations on the southeastern border of Bulgaria with Greece, scientists discovered a 2-meter sculpture of Hermes. The marble statue was hidden underground about 2,000 years ago. The work of art was located in an ancient Roman sewer in the abandoned city of Heracleia Sintica, founded by King Philip II of Macedon between 356 and 339 BC. In 388 AD, the city was destroyed by an earthquake. The head of the statue has been preserved and is in very good condition. The statue was probably hidden after the adoption of Christianity as the official religion of the Roman Empire and the banning of pagan symbols. The find is a Roman copy of an ancient Greek original. At that time, everything pagan was prohibited, but people still cared about their former deities. Shamans predict disaster. In Mexico, one of the ancient pyramids used by ancient tribes for human sacrifices has collapsed, raising fears of an impending disaster. Descendants of the tribe that built the pyramid fear that the collapse could be a harbinger of a major disaster caused by the elements or another phenomenon. Photos from the scene show that part of the structure collapsed after heavy rain that recently fell. The downpour washed away one of the sides of the pyramid. These pyramids were built by the ancestors of the modern Purépecha, a warlike people who once defeated the Aztecs. Historians claim that the Yakata pyramids were used by the Purepecha tribe for ritual sacrifices to their main god, Kurikuri. Anthropologist Tariaquiri Alvarez said that the collapse of the pyramid is an unlucky sign. Local shamans believe that even the fall of one stone was a bad omen, and the collapse of an entire wall means an inevitable catastrophe. A similar phenomenon was observed before the arrival of the conquistadors. Unraveling the secrets of mass death. During excavations in the ancient city of Aswan on the Nile, archaeologists discovered 30 tombs dating back to the Greco-Roman period. These burials, found on a hill, contain mummies of children and parents, coffins, papier-mâché masks, amphorae with vine leaf patterns, and offering tables. Ancient oil lamps left by mourners were also found. The necropolis is unique in its terraced arrangement. 10 levels of tombs are built one above the other into the hill, which distinguishes it from the usual 2-3 level Egyptian burials. This site was used for about 900 years, starting from the 6th century BC until the 3rd century AD, when Egypt was ruled by the Persians, the Ptolemaic dynasty, and the Romans. Studies have shown that 30 to 40% of mummies belong to newborns and children under 2 years of age. Using X-rays, Connecticut scans, and DNA analysis, archaeologists and doctors at the University Hospital in Aswan found that the main causes of death were anemia and infectious diseases, even among rich people. A study of the mummy's spines confirmed the presence of tuberculosis, which could destroy entire families. List of Roman centurions. Polish archaeologists have discovered unique papyri with lists of Roman centurions who served in Egypt in the ancient port of Berenice. These rare documents were found along with Italian pottery, Roman coins, and a special buckle in the ruined office of a centurion. Berenice, located on the Red Sea, was built by Emperor Tiberius after the annexation of Egypt by Rome. The discovered papyri contain letters from centurions with the names Caesus, Licinius, and Petronius. In one of the letters, Petronius asks Licinius about the prices of exclusive goods and instructs them to be sent with legionaries on camels. These letters provide unique insight into the trade and daily life of the Roman military. Artifacts found alongside the papyri include Roman coins, brooches, and pottery from Italy, the Mediterranean, Africa, and India, demonstrating Berenice's importance as a trading port. The papyri were found on the western outskirts of Berenice in a unique zoological cemetery where numerous islands were also found, fragments of texts on ceramics. These finds shed light on the presence of Roman legionaries in Egypt and the importance of Berenice in the ancient Roman trade network. 7,000-year-old plow marks. Archaeologists from France and Switzerland discovered at excavations in the city of Sion, at the Arsenault Monument, the oldest traces of a primitive plow, Arda in Europe, dating back to the period between 5,100 and 4,700 BC. This discovery, made in 2017, suggests that already in the early stages of the Neolithic in Europe, people began to use draft animals to work the land. Such artifacts indicating the plowing of the earth in the Neolithic are extremely rare and difficult to date accurately. For example, in northern Italy, archaeologists have discovered traces of a primitive plow and animal hoof prints dating back to 4,300–4,000 BC. Prior to this, the earliest evidence of the use of the plow in Switzerland was considered to be finds dating back to the first half of the 4th millennium BC. Ancient city in Micronesia. This amazing complex is built on artificial islands that are connected by a network of canals, which is why it is often called the Venice of the Pacific. The complex includes about 100 artificial islets. The islands were created from massive basalt blocks, laid in such a way as to form walls, platforms, and buildings. Each structure is surrounded by water channels, which makes this place even more mysterious and impressive. The age of Nan Madol is estimated at about 1,500 years, but some studies indicate that the first buildings could have appeared much earlier. Archaeologists suggest that the construction of this complex began at the end of the 1st millennium AD, possibly under the leadership of local rulers, the Swabian Dynasty, who used Nan Madol as a ceremonial and administrative center. The main mystery of Nan Madol is how the inhabitants of the island of Ponape were able to build such a complex and massive city with limited technology and resources. Each basalt block used in the construction weighs from several hundred kilograms to several tons. Transporting and installing such heavy blocks would have required considerable effort and knowledge. The basalt was quarried on the other side of the island, which meant it had to be transported across difficult terrain and water. Considering that the ancient builders did not have modern technology, this feat seems almost impossible. Some researchers suggest that the stone blocks could have been transported using rafts and ropes, while others point to the possible use of a system of levers and ramps. However, none of these theories fully explain how the ancient Micronesians managed to lay and align these massive structures so precisely. Nan Madol is also surrounded by many legends and myths. Locals believe that the city has magical properties and that it was built using supernatural forces. Some myths claim that Nan Madol was home to spirits and was used for rituals related to ancestor worship. To this day, this ancient city inspires awe and respect among the inhabitants of Ponape, and they avoid visiting Nan Madol after sunset, considering it a place of residence of spirits. Board game will rewrite history. The ancient board game, Dogs and Jackals, or 58 Holes, has long been thought to be of Egyptian origin. However, a new study published in the European Journal of Archaeology suggests that a version of the game found in what is now Azerbaijan may be older, suggesting it may have Asian roots. Archaeological finds confirm the existence of many ancient board games. Last year, a 4,000-year-old board was discovered in the Kumaira Valley in Oman that may have been a precursor to the royal game of an early version of backgammon. In 2022, a 500-year-old board of the game Mill, previously played in Egypt and Rome, was found in the ruins of Chmielo Castle in Poland. The latest find, the Dogs and Jackals board, has been known to scientists since 1890. About 60 examples have been found in Egypt, Mesopotamia, Israel, Syria, Iran, and Azerbaijan. The board has two parallel tracks of 29 holes using 10 sticks with the heads of jackals or dogs. The goal of the game is to move all of your pieces from the starting point to the finishing point before your opponent. Previously, the oldest version was thought to date from 2064 to 1952 BC during the reign of Mentuhotep II, indicating an Egyptian origin for the game. However, in 2018, archaeologist Walter Christ discovered a new version of the board in Gobustan, Azerbaijan, indicating an earlier date for the game and potentially rewriting the origin story of the board game. 6 more boards have been found in Agdashduzu, Yeni Turkin, and Dubindi. Pottery found in the game suggests that shepherds played the game while waiting for winter to end. Researchers caution that it is difficult to accurately date this period and are hesitant to attribute the game to a specific culture. Zombie grave. In a recently discovered burial site near Oppen in Saxony-Anhalt, Germany, archaeologists have discovered astonishing Bronze Age artifacts linked to ancient superstitions. The remains of a man were found in the grave, laid on his side with his legs pressed under a heavy stone about 1 meter long and 50 centimeters wide. Thus, those who were involved in his burial tried to prevent his return to the world of the living. According to excavation director Uwe Moos, the man between 40 and 60 years old was positioned facing east, indicating cultural rituals of the time. Moos suggests that the deceased either suffered from a serious illness or was not respected among his own people. It is argued that the man may have been part of the bell beaker culture, which is characterized by a certain style of pottery. In those distant times, people sincerely believed in the existence of revenants, the dead striving to return to the world of the living. The means of dealing with them were varied, from piercing the bodies with spears to placing heavy stones on the bodies to prevent them from rising from the dead. Pyramid on the site of a volcano. The Great Pyramid at the Mayan site of San Andres was built in response to the eruption of the Tierra Blanca Joven volcano in the Lago Ilopango caldera. San Andres, located in the Zapotecan Valley in the department of La Libertad, El Salvador, was founded around 900 BC as an agricultural center that became the capital of the Mayan state between 600 and 900 AD. The eruption of Tierra Blanca Joven, which occurred around 539 AD, was one of the largest volcanic events in history, ejecting about 43.7 cubic kilometers of volcanic material. It caused significant climate change and devastated an area with a radius of up to 100 kilometers. Dr. Akira Ichikawa of the University of Colorado Boulder noted that due to the scale of the disaster, many settlements were abandoned and it took a long time to rebuild them. However, research in San Andres, just 40 kilometers from Lago Ilopango, has shown that construction began several years after the eruption. The start of construction of the La Campana Pyramid dates back to just 30 years after the eruption, and its completion took about 80 years. The pyramid, 7 meters high and with a volume of 23,000 cubic meters, was the largest structure in the valley. Dr. Ichikawa suggests that the pyramid was built using volcanic ash as a material and had religious significance associated with the worship of volcanoes in order to protect against future eruptions. Stone heads. Found in what is now Mexico, the La Venta giant stoneheads are among the most enigmatic artifacts of the ancient Olmec civilization. These massive sculptures, created about 3,000 years ago, are monolithic heads carved from large basalt stones. The heads range in height from 1.5 to 3.4 meters and weigh up to several tons. Only 4 such heads have been discovered in La Venta, each with unique facial features and the characteristic Olmec art of carving. The Olmecs, one of the earliest and most enigmatic civilizations of Central America, lived in what is now the state of Tabasco in Mexico. The facial features carved on the heads are often interpreted as African, which has given rise to many hypotheses and theories about possible cultural contacts between the Olmecs and other continents. However, there is no direct evidence of such contacts, and most scholars are inclined to believe that such facial features were characteristic of the Olmec culture itself. Basalt carving requires considerable effort and skill, especially considering the limited tools available at the time. The Olmecs apparently used primitive tools made of stone and wood, which makes their achievements in sculpture even more impressive. How they were able to achieve such a level of detail and expressiveness remains a mystery. Another question is the transportation of these massive stones. The basalt quarry is located in the Tuxtla Mountains, about 80 kilometers from La Venta. This means that the ancient craftsmen had to move huge stone blocks through dense jungle and rugged terrain. The meaning and purpose of these stone heads also remains a subject of debate among scholars. Some researchers believe that the heads depicted rulers or important members of society, perhaps a warrior or priest, emphasizing their status and importance. The expressive facial features and unique elements of the headdresses carved into the heads could symbolize strength and power. Testing psychotropic substances. Recent excavations at a former SS facility in Austria have shed light on one of the dark and little-known pages of Nazi experiments. Archaeologists have discovered the remains of laboratories where experiments with psychotropic substances were conducted. The facility, located in a mountainous area, was carefully hidden from people, which allowed it to remain unnoticed until now. The laboratories were equipped with the latest technology of the time, and the artifacts found give an idea of the scale of the research that was conducted there. Ampules with chemical residues, complex distillation and synthesis apparatus, and journals with notes detailing the experiments are among the finds. According to the records, the research concerned the effects of psychotropic drugs on human consciousness and behavior. The Nazis were actively looking for ways to control the mind, trying to develop substances that could be used to suppress the will or change the perception of reality in opponents. The effects of drugs on soldiers were also studied, with the aim of enhancing their fighting qualities or dulling their fear of death. Records found in the laboratories contain shocking details about how the Nazis conducted experiments on concentration camp prisoners using them as test subjects. These experiments were cruel and often resulted in severe physical and mental consequences for the victims. Some substances caused severe hallucinations, paranoia, and loss of control over their own bodies, while others completely blocked the feeling of fear or pain, turning people into fighting machines. These experiments may have been part of a larger SS program to create ideal soldiers, impervious to pain and moral limitations. Many modern synthetic drugs were created in these laboratories. Ancient hater. In Russia, in Veliki Novgorod, archaeologists have discovered a birch bark letter in which the author advises the addressee to hang themselves. Russian scientists have studied the finds made this season in the Novgorod region. Among them, a small letter with one word stands out. A certain Procopia laconically wrote, "Hang yourself," in a letter to Nietzsche. Apparently, even then, there were some kind of remote haters. Unfortunately, the beginning and end of this correspondence have not yet been found. Most of the found artifacts date back to the 12th century. However, not all the letters were so rude. In one of them, the scribe Roshka politely addressed Stepan with a request. Another letter mentions a water test. The accused was thrown into the water, and he was considered guilty if the water did not accept him. Portal to the Underworld. Last year, a unique artifact, the portal to the underworld, which was stolen and taken to the United States in the 1960s, returned to Mexico. Scientists recently completed restoration and returned it to its original location in central Mexico. This monument, created by the Olmec civilization, has long been considered a gateway to the other world. In the 1960s, it was kidnapped from Chalcatzingo, a famous Olmec archaeological site where it was depicting a mythical cat with gaping jaws, a symbol of entry into the spiritual world. The monument dates from the pre-classic period, created between 800 and 400 BC. The thieves smashed the artifact with hammers to make it easier to transport, but did not damage the main features. It was smuggled to the United States, where it ended up on the illegal antiques market. In 1968, the artifact ended up in a New York museum under the name Monster of the Earth. Archaeologist David Grove recognized the Olmec origins of the monument and noted similarities with other sculptures at Chalcatzingo, especially the Olmec cross-shaped eyes and bromeliad flowers near the mouth. Endless attempts to decipher the ancient text. The clay tablets inscribed with Linear A are among the most mysterious finds from ancient Crete. These tablets date back to around 1800-1450 BC and belong to the flourishing era of the Minoan civilization, one of the first highly developed cultures in Europe. The tablets were discovered in archaeological excavations on Crete at sites such as Knossos, Malea, Phaistos, and Agia Triada. They contain text written in the form of linear symbols, which gives this type of writing its name. Linear A is an early writing system that preceded the more famous Linear B, which was used to write Mycenaean Greek. Unlike Linear B, which was deciphered in the mid-20th century, Linear A remains undeciphered. The main mystery of these tablets is their incomprehensible content, as the language they are written in is unknown and has no obvious analogs among known ancient languages. Most of these tablets are administrative and accounting records, which is typical of ancient writing systems. However, without the ability to read these texts, archaeologists and historians are limited in their understanding of important aspects of Minoan society, including its economy, religious practices, and daily life. Endless attempts to decipher Linear A continue, and each new artifact discovered during excavations brings hope for solving this ancient mystery. Amulet from space. Turkish archaeologists have discovered a 4,700-year-old meteorite iron amulet. This artifact, found in an early Bronze Age burial in Asia Minor, is considered the oldest such find in the region, the dating of which has been accurately established. The amulet was discovered in the Kisikservi burial ground located in southwestern Turkey. The item lay in a pithos, a large clay vessel used for burials. Today, the earliest recognized meteorite iron artifacts are beads from Egypt found near the site of El Gerza and dated to 3,300 BC. Also known are finds from the Orenburg region in Russia, where in a Yamnaya culture mound, archaeologists discovered a knife, a chisel, and an adze plane dating back to 2700 BC during excavations in Kesikservi. In addition to the amulet, burials with rich funerary attributes were found, which indicates the high status of the deceased. Analyses confirm that the iron of the amulet is indeed of meteorite origin, which further increases its historical and scientific value. Ritual during a change of power. Archaeological excavations at the site of Ucanal in northern Guatemala have uncovered traces of an ancient ritual that may have symbolized the public change of the old regime of the Mayan civilization. At the top of the pyramid temple, charred human bones and royal jewelry were found. These artifacts may indicate specific burial rites or ceremonies. The analysis showed that the bones belonged to at least 4 adults, with 3 of them identified as males. One of the skeletons was exposed to high temperatures of over 800 degrees Celsius. This research confirms that the remains found may have been members of the royal family, originally buried elsewhere and burned as part of a ritual transfer to the pyramid a century later. Among the items found were 1,500 fragments of various jewelry, pendants, beads, plates, and mosaics made of green stone, obsidian objects, blades, 10,000 beads from seashells, as well as pendants made from mammal teeth. Fragments of a mosaic funerary mask made of green stone were also discovered, which is typical of royal tombs of the period. Radiocarbon dating indicates that the deaths occurred approximately 100 years before the burning. This supports the theory that the burial may have been part of a ritual marking the symbolic and literal destruction of the previous dynastic line of Canwitznel. This may have been a highly ceremonial event associated with a change in the political order of the region. Stonehenge doesn't even come close. The Gambla stone circles, located in what is now Senegal and Gambia, are one of the most enigmatic and impressive archaeological sites in West Africa. These megalithic structures, comprising thousands of individual stones, are arranged in circles and lines covering over 30,000 square kilometers. They are known as the Sine Ngayen and Wasue megalithic complexes in Senegal and Kerbak and Wanyanka in Gambia. The age of these stone circles is estimated at around 1,500 years, although some may be much older, suggesting long-term use and importance to local ancient cultures. Each stone circle is made up of massive pillars that range in height from 1 to 2.5 meters, and the diameter of the circles can reach 8 meters. On average, each stone weighs about 7 tons. The complex includes more than 1,700 individual circles, making it one of the largest collections of megaliths in the world. These stone circles are often compared to Stonehenge due to their mysterious origin and unknown purpose. However, Stonehenge does not come close to the scale of the Gambla stone circles. The purpose of this gigantic structure is still a subject of discussion and research. One of the most popular theories is their ritual and ceremonial significance. Stone circles could have served as places for religious ceremonies, meetings, and burials. Indeed, burial mounds have been found near some of the circles, which supports the idea of burial rituals. In some places, artifacts such as pottery and iron tools have been found, which could have been used in rituals or as offerings. Some scientists believe that the arrangement of the stones is related to observations of the movements of the sun, moon, and stars, and could have been used to determine calendar cycles or hold important agricultural festivals. The ancient builders used local materials such as laterite stones, but the technique of their processing and installation is still unclear. Battle of Kursk. Archaeological research at the site of the legendary Battle of Kursk, one of the key battles of World War II, continues to yield amazing finds. This battle, which took place in the summer of 1943, was the largest tank battle in history, determining the further course of the war on the Eastern Front. Excavations at the site of this large-scale confrontation have revealed hundreds of artifacts that allow us to better understand the course of events and the conditions in which Soviet soldiers fought. The finds include famous tanks, Soviet T-34s and German Tigers, fragments of guns and equipment, as well as ammunition. These finds will help historians reconstruct the battlefields in detail and understand how exactly tank and artillery duels unfolded on the battlefields of Kursk. Particularly valuable are artifacts related to tactical maneuvers and fortifications used by both sides. Personal belongings of soldiers were also found: medallions, letters, elements of uniforms. These objects help to take a new look at the human side of war, the difficult conditions the soldiers faced, and their daily lives on the battlefield. Tomb with unique frescoes. Amazing murals depicting daily life in the 8th century have been found in a small Tang-era tomb in northern China. Frescoes dating back to 736 cover all the walls of the tomb except the floor and depict scenes from life in the Tang Dynasty. The tomb belonged to a man who died at the age of 63. The paintings are done in the style of the Tang era, using strong outlines and simple shading, and appear mostly two-dimensional. This style, called figures under the tree, was popular in Taiyuan, the capital of Shaanxi province. The gate, corridor, and pedestal of the tomb are also decorated with frescoes. There are guards depicted on the outside of the gate. The frescoes do not depict famous historical periods or important people. In one scene, people perform everyday tasks, such as grinding grain or drawing water from a well. Another shows a woman with horses and a man with a whip, presumably from a non-Han ethnic group. The figures in the frescoes resemble the same man and woman, leading archaeologists to speculate that they were the owners of the tomb. George Washington canned fruit. Archaeologists have found convincing evidence of the love of the first U.S. President George Washington for canned fruits and berries, especially cherries. This unexpected discovery was made while exploring Washington's country estate. In underground storage facilities, archaeologists found 35 glass jars with canned fruit, of which 29 were completely intact. Even whole pieces of fruit were preserved in the bottles. Experts determined that 12 containers were filled with canned cherries and the rest were probably filled with gooseberries and currants. Surprisingly, some fruits can even be edible after 250 years. This discovery is very impressive. Historical records document George Washington and his wife Martha's love of canned fruit, especially brandy-infused cherries. Martha Washington's Cherry Bounce cocktail recipe was also found. Archaeologists believe that the Washington servants and slaves were engaged in canning fruit. They possessed real skill, thanks to which the fruits have been preserved to this day. The cherry pits found will also be tested, and perhaps they will be used to grow trees that grew during Washington's lifetime. Ancient inscriptions of the pharaohs in the Nile. Archaeological divers at the bottom of the murky waters of the Nile in Egypt examined algae-covered rock formations. At first glance, the stones seemed unremarkable. However, upon closer examination, scientists discovered several inscriptions associated with the ancient pharaohs. A joint team of Egyptian and French archaeologists decided to explore the ruins in the reservoir in Aswan. Under a layer of algae, they found several carvings that were at least 2,300 years old. The images ranged from drawings of ancient Egyptian pharaohs to hieroglyphs. The photo shows several well-preserved carved figures. The shapes are blurred by water and quite difficult to distinguish. One set of lettering appears to be a row of mannequin heads above two objects that resemble tombstones. These ancient inscriptions are still being studied. Archaeologists believe that these finds will help to better understand how the ancient kings ruled in those distant times. The connection between ancient Egypt and the Bible. The Ipuwer Papyrus, also known as the Utterance of Ipuwer, is an ancient Egyptian text written on papyrus that is currently housed in the Leiden Museum in the Netherlands. The document dates to the end of the Middle Kingdom of Egypt around 1800 BC, although a copy of the papyrus may have been created much later. The papyrus is written in the form of a poetic monologue in which the narrator, Ipuwer, describes the catastrophic disasters that have struck Egypt. The text tells of social unrest, natural disasters, mass famine, and the breakdown of social order, making it a unique source for understanding ancient Egyptian views on crisis and chaos. One of the mysteries of the Ipuwer Papyrus is its possible connection to real historical events. Some scholars believe that the papyrus does not describe specific events, but rather a literary interpretation of general ideas about chaos and social disorder that were common in Egyptian thought. At the same time, the content of the text has led to speculation that it may reflect a real historical upheaval, perhaps related to the decline of the Middle Kingdom or other catastrophes. Interest in the Ipuwer Papyrus has also arisen because of parallels with the biblical plagues of Egypt described in the Book of Exodus. Descriptions of blood turning the river red, darkness, and mass death resonate in both texts. However, the exact connection between the Ipuwer Papyrus and the biblical events remains controversial, as there is no convincing evidence of a direct historical connection. The quest for the silver spear. The Spear of Longinus, also known as the Spear of Destiny, is one of the most famous and mystical artifacts in history. According to Christian legend, this is the spear with which the Roman legionary Longinus pierced the side of the crucified Jesus Christ. Many legends claim that this artifact has great magical powers and that its owner can rule the world and gain unlimited power. The Nazi leadership, especially Adolf Hitler, were confident in the power of the Spear of Destiny. Hitler first saw it in his youth in a Vienna museum and was so impressed that he later called this moment a turning point in his life. Many great rulers of the past, such as Charlemagne and Napoleon, were believed to have owned this spear, which supposedly helped them achieve their great achievements. Hitler was confident that if he took possession of the Spear of Longinus, it would ensure him not only victory in war, but also domination of the world. When the Nazis came to power, the search for the Spear of Destiny became part of their program to collect ancient artifacts that could strengthen their influence and power. Secret research conducted within the Antikythera organization was aimed at finding both Christian relics and other ancient objects with magical or religious powers. The Spear of Longinus was considered the key to the success of the entire Nazi project. In 1938, after the Anschluss of Austria, Hitler ordered the immediate transfer of the Spear of Destiny from the museum in Vienna to Nuremberg, where it was placed in a special room for study and storage. During the following years of the war, the Nazis continued to search for the original spear, fearing that the spear found in Vienna might be a copy and not the real thing. The Antikythera went all over Europe looking for traces of other relics associated with the spear. It was believed that the spear might have been lost or hidden during the Crusades, and the Nazis actively studied ancient maps and texts to find at least some traces. Secret missions were sent to the most remote corners of Europe and the Middle East, trying to find clues that could lead to the real spear. The fate of the Spear of Longinus remains one of the mysteries of World War II. After the capture of Nuremberg in 1945, the artifact was found in the city's treasury and handed over to American troops. However, there is still debate about whether this spear is genuine or one of the many replicas created in the Middle Ages. Some researchers believe that the true Spear of Destiny has never been found and is still in one of the secret places, waiting for its new owner. The mysterious pyramids of Sidiang. This complex, discovered by archaeologists at the end of the 20th century, includes more than 80 pyramids, making it one of the largest burial sites in the Nubian desert in Sudan. The Sidiang pyramids were built during the period when Nubia was under the influence of ancient Egypt, and the rulers of the Kush kingdom sought to imitate Egyptian traditions and architecture. Most of the Sidiang pyramids are small in size compared to Egyptian pyramids, the average height of which is between 3 and 7 meters. They were built of sandstone and brick and were used as burial places for nobles and members of the ruling elite. Archaeologists have found ceramics, jewelry, and the remains of mummies in these pyramids, which indicates the high level of skill of Nubian artisans. One of the mysteries of the Sidiang pyramids is their large number in a relatively small area, which makes this complex unique. The construction of such a large number of pyramids may indicate the important religious and cultural significance of this place for the ancient Nubians. Sidianga was also the site of the cult of the goddess Hathor, who played a key role in the religious life of Nubia. The Voynich manuscript again. American medievalists have used multispectral scanning to discover how a 17th century Prague physician attempted to decipher the mysterious Voynich manuscript. Scientists use multispectral analysis to study the manuscript, obtaining images that are inaccessible to conventional research. This technology can reveal erased or faded texts, as iron-based ink can fluoresce under ultraviolet light. Historian Lisa Fagan Davis recently analyzed these images and discovered vertical columns of symbols on one of the pages. The first column contained the classic Latin alphabet of 23 letters, the second contained symbols from the manuscript's unknown alphabet, and the third contained Latin shifted by one character. This table looks like an attempt to decipher the text using the symbol substitution method common in the Middle Ages and the New Age. A comparison of the handwriting of the manuscript's known owners showed that the table was compiled by Johannes Marcus Marci, a scientist and court physician. He owned the book from 1662 to 1665 and attempted to decipher the manuscript, as did his predecessors and followers. Multispectral analysis also confirmed that the manuscript was not a palimpsest, and carbon-14 analysis correctly dated it to 1425. Ancient treasure ship. The team of the One Expedition Research Project discovered a sunken Finnish ship from the late 19th, early 20th centuries at the bottom of Lake Ladoga at a depth of 34 meters. The ship sank, probably due to an explosion inside, which destroyed the wheelhouse. A binnacle, telegraph, and steering wheel were found on the deck. Ceramic cups with pearls were found in the hold. The ship features a Leviathan symbol on both sides, which may indicate its pirate past. The finds also included a ship's bell, ceramic vessels, a porcelain wash basin, and bricks with the inscription Höganäs, made in Sweden. The discovered artifacts will be sent to the Underwater Heritage Center for further study. These finds may shed light on the history and purpose of this mysterious vessel, which is of great interest to scientists. Find of the century. Research in the caves of the Danube Valley in southern Germany shows that Stone Age people were not just cave savages. Finds made in the Swabian Alb show what outstanding artistic abilities our ancestors had about 45,000 years ago. The Swabian Alb may be the cradle of modern European man. This is evidenced by the figurines made of mammoth tusks found here, which are up to 40,000 years old. A recent discovery in the karst cave Hohlefels, located near Blaubeuren, confirms this assumption. During excavations, a Danish student found a figurine of an animal about 6 centimeters long. Although its head is missing, scientists believe it is an image of an otter. Archaeologists have nicknamed this artifact Find of the Year. About 45,000 years ago, Homo sapiens came to the Danube region, neighboring the Neanderthals. It was previously believed that modern humans had more extensively spread across the territory of present-day France, as evidenced by the discovery of cave paintings. However, the figurines from the Swabian Alb change our understanding of the settlement and life of ancient people in Europe. The caves of the Swabian Alb have been explored since the mid-19th century. The finds include stone and bone tools as well as jewelry, which provide important information about the lives of Neanderthals and other early representatives of humanity. In the mid-20th century, the Nazi organization Ahnenerbe also carried out excavations here, seeking to find evidence of the existence of ancient Aryans. In recent years, excavations in the caves have resumed and new discoveries have been made, including a figurine of a woman known as the Venus of Hohlefels. This image with big breasts and expressive feminine features probably symbolized fertility. Other finds, such as ancient flutes made of bird bones, indicate a high level of spirituality and art among our ancestors. The lost link of evolution. The origin of man from monkeys can be debated endlessly, but individual stories of people indirectly confirm this theory. Thus, the show in Philadelphia presented the missing link between man and ape. Kreo, a girl from Siam, Thailand, born in 1876. From birth, she was covered with hair, including a silky mane between her shoulder blades. At the age of 6, she was found by the showman the Great Farini, who took the girl on a tour of Europe and then the United States. Kreo became a star of the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus. Kreo was nicknamed the Monkey Woman and was often associated with Darwin's missing link. She was supposed to belong to a race of ape-like tree-dwelling people. Despite the controversy of this statement, many famous naturalists and scientists accepted this version. Numerous works have been written about Kreo, including the 1896 book Anomalies and Curiosities of Medicine, which describes her anthropomorphic features in detail. In fact, Kreo was an intelligent and educated woman who knew several languages and suffered from hypertrichosis. Unlike others, Kreo was not exploited and lived a decent life, demonstrating herself on her own terms. She spent the last 20 years of her life in a private apartment, where she delighted guests and neighbors with her culinary skills and charm. Kreo died of influenza on April 16, 1926, unmarried but still faithful to her unique lifestyle. The origin of the silver vessel. It took scientists 10 years to discover the origin of a unique silver vessel that is part of the Galloway hoard. It turned out that the artifact had traveled from Western Asia to Scotland. The discovery has added intrigue to one of the most important archaeological finds in the UK. The Galloway hoard was found in southern Scotland in 2014 by treasure hunter Derek McLennan. The treasure included a silver vessel wrapped in ancient cloth. Now, researchers have confirmed that the vessel was made in what is now central Iran and was transported across vast distances to Scotland more than 1,000 years ago. Inside the vessel, they found valuables such as silk and brooches. Laser cleaning of the vessel revealed intricate patterns characteristic of Zoroastrianism, the state religion of the Sassanids, the last Persian empire before the Muslim conquest. The entire hoard weighed more than 5 kilograms and included silver, gold, and other valuable materials. It was found on Church of Scotland land near Balmahy. The artifact has been dated to around 900 AD and will be shown for the first time in the Silk Roads exhibition at the British Museum in London. Other items from the hoard will be on display at the National Museum of Scotland and the Kirkcudbright Galleries. Its inclusion is significant, particularly as it is the earliest recorded silk in Scotland. The Ring of an Uncommon Man. Assos is an ancient city with a rich history founded in the 7th century BC. In this ancient city located in the southwest of the Biga Peninsula in Turkey, archaeologists have found a Roman ring depicting Athena, the revered goddess of Assos. The ring was found in a building known as the Xenodokion, which served as a dormitory in ancient times. Founded by Greek settlers from the island of Lesbos, Assos has deep historical roots dating back to the Bronze Age. Athena, the daughter of Zeus and one of the main deities of Olympus, became the patroness of the city. Assos was an important regional center and is mentioned in ancient texts along with the cities of Asuva and Pedasos. Excavations in Assos have been ongoing for almost 40 years under the direction of Turkish archaeologists. The ring with the image of Athena, discovered in Xenodokion, probably belonged to a high-ranking resident of the city and was used as a seal, similar to modern signatures. According to our estimates, the artifact dates back to the 2 and 3 RD centuries AD. In the 6th century BC, the city of Assos was under the rule of Lydia, then became part of the Persian Empire, after which it entered the Athenian Confederation. The city again came under Persian control until Alexander the Great liberated it in 334 BC. Assos was later part of the Kingdom of Pergamon and became part of the Roman Empire. Over time, the city lost its importance, passing under the rule of the Byzantines, Seljuks, Franks, and Ottomans until 1330. There's madness in his eyes. During excavations in Herculaneum, a city destroyed by the eruption of Vesuvius in 79 AD, an ancient bronze bust of the Roman Emperor Caligula was found. The 12-centimeter high bust was discovered in the 17th century, but its trace was later lost for almost 200 years. Experts believe that the bust was cast shortly before or after Caligula's death, about 2,000 years ago. The bust of Caligula depicts him with a high forehead, thin lips, a small mouth, and a prominent chin. The eyes of the sculpture unmistakably convey the madness that is often associated with this emperor. Caligula, the third representative of the Julio-Claudian dynasty, is known for his riotous lifestyle and incest. He was killed in 41 AD as a result of a palace coup. After its initial discovery, the bust was given as a gift to the famous English writer and politician Horace Walpole. Walpole admired the expressiveness of Caligula's face, believing that the emperor was captured at the beginning of his madness. The bust was kept in Walpole's mansion, Strawberry Hill House, and after his death passed through hands until it disappeared for 200 years. The bust was recently rediscovered by Oxford University historian Sylvia Davoli, calling the event fascinating. Each object found helps to better understand the life of the ancient Romans. The bust of Caligula is an important archaeological find that sheds light on Roman history and culture. Tried to hide it from the government. During the construction of a house in the village of Mohammadpur Baganki, Haryana, India, ancient bronze idols dating back about 400 years were found. The statues depicting the Hindu deities Vishnu and Mata Lakshmi are distinguished by exquisite carvings and designs. The owner of the site tried to hide the discovery by offering the builder who discovered the artifacts money for silence. However, the builder contacted the police and thus the authorities learned about the existence of the idols. Local residents, regarding the idols as a divine blessing, expressed a desire to build a temple on this site, but the Department of Archaeology refused, saying that the artifacts were the property of the state and should be preserved for study and subsequent storage in a museum. The statues are currently undergoing scientific analysis to determine their exact age and history. Previously, scientists confirmed that the idols are about 400 years old. Researchers are also looking for inscriptions or marks on the idols that could shed light on their origins. Step pyramids in Spain. The Pyramids of Guimar are a unique archaeological complex located on the island of Tenerife, one of the Canary Islands belonging to Spain. These pyramidal structures, built of basalt stones, attract the attention of researchers and tourists due to their mysterious history and unusual architecture. In total, there are 6 pyramids on the territory of the complex, which have a stepped shape and a terraced base, reminiscent of the buildings of the ancient civilizations of Mesoamerica. Some researchers believe that the pyramids were built by the ancient Aborigines of the Canary Islands, the Guanches, who used them for ritual and religious purposes. In support of this theory, they point to the similarity of the Pyramids of Guimar with other ancient structures used for worship of gods and ceremonies. However, there is an alternative point of view suggesting that the pyramids were built in the 19th century as part of agricultural terraces. A feature of the Pyramids of Guimar is their orientation in relation to astronomical phenomena. Research has shown that the pyramids are built in such a way as to be oriented towards the solstices. On the day of the summer solstice, a unique phenomenon can be observed when the shadow of the pyramids is perfectly aligned with their edges, creating the effect of a double sunset. This astronomical alignment indicates the possible use of the pyramids as an observatory or for performing calendar rituals. Escape tunnels. Archaeologists have discovered secret tunnels in the Alps that were used to evacuate the top Nazi leadership. These underground structures carved out of the rock are astonishing in their sophistication and scale. Researchers believe that the tunnels were part of a carefully planned network designed to provide a secret escape route in the event of the collapse of the Third Reich. Newly discovered documents and drawings confirm this. The routes passed through inaccessible areas of the Alps, which would have allowed the Nazi leaders to evade detection and pursuit. Archaeological finds include ventilation shafts, hidden exits, and small supply depots, indicating extensive preparation for a possible evacuation. These tunnels could have played a major role in the fate of the Nazi elite if the events of World War II had taken a different turn. Ruins of an American hospital in France. Archaeologists have discovered the ruins of an American military hospital in Canary Islands, the commune of Savigny in northwestern France. This medical facility was built to prevent American soldiers from being dependent on French hospitals. During World War I, several hundred of these hospitals were built across the country, ranging from field hospitals to large complexes, capable of treating up to 25,000 wounded and sick. The excavations found medical vials, combs, buttons, a smoking pipe, a medical clip, a razor, a watch case, cups, and shoes. These artifacts provide insight into daily life in the hospital. The hospitals were strategically located near the ports of Nantes and Saint-Nazaire, close to the main railway lines. American hospital complexes functioned as self-contained cities with their own sewerage and water supplies. Some even had their own railway connections. The excavation site was divided into two parts. One was a fenced area to protect the hospital, the other was 20 pits with construction waste and artifacts. Vampire Child. Workers cleaning up near a historic cathedral in Chelm, Poland, found the remains of two children in a shallow pit. The Polish Culture Ministry said the site was not marked as a cemetery. One of the skeletons showed signs of an anti-vampire burial. The child's head had been severed from the body and placed face down on a rock. This is consistent with ancient burial practices used to prevent those believed to be demonic beings from coming back to life. The skeletons are believed to date back to the early Middle Ages. The remains have been removed and are awaiting further study. The discovery is another example of practices used to protect against vampires or other supernatural entities. In 2022, Polish researchers found the remains of a woman with a sickle around her neck and a triangular lock on her leg in the village of Pin. The lock was believed to keep the vampire in the grave, and the sickle was supposed to cut off the head if the body tried to get up. Such practices were common in the 17th century due to the vampire epidemic. In 2013, 6 vampire skeletons were found in a cemetery in northwestern Poland, each with a sickle around their neck or a stone under their jaw. It took 12 days to dig up this find. Archaeologists from the University of Iowa spent 12 days excavating several mastodon skull bones that were discovered by a local man. The remains are estimated to be about 13,600 years old. The mastodon was a long-extinct distant relative of modern elephants. The discovery of a juvenile mastodon tooth suggests that more bones may be found in the area. Stone tools were also found during the excavation, but they are more recent and several thousand years younger than the mastodon. Mastodons, although about the same height as modern elephants, were more massive, weighing up to 6 tons. They disappeared shortly after the first humans arrived in North America about 14,000 years ago, like other megafauna. The last known mastodon was found in peat near Lake Pleasant in Michigan and is estimated to be about 10,500 years old. Traces of hunting were found on its bones. Mastodons preferred forested areas. Their teeth were adapted for chewing hard branches and bushes, unlike mammoths which ate grasses and cereals on the plains. Human blood on ancient mask. A gold mask from the Sican culture found on the northern coast of Peru contains traces of human blood. The Sikh culture, which existed from 750 to 1375 AD, is known for its luxurious gold crafts, including funerary masks that were created during the Middle Sikh period and often accompanied the elite in their tombs. In the 1990s, archaeologists excavated the tomb of one such elite. It contained a skeleton sitting upside down, painted bright red with cinnabar, with a gold mask covering a severed skull. Around the skeleton were the skeletons of 2 young women in labor and nursing positions, as well as 2 children. In a recent study, scientists analyzed the paint on the mask, identifying 6 proteins from human blood, including serum albumin and immunoglobulin G. Proteins from egg white, presumably from a Muscovy duck, were also found. Underground City. The Jersin Cave, located in Saudi Arabia, is an important archaeological site demonstrating the important role of lava tubes in the lives of our ancestors. This 1.5-kilometer lava tunnel, which arose as a result of volcanic activity, served as a refuge for people for 7,000 years. An international team of archaeologists has discovered numerous objects here that tell about the life of the ancients. Fragments of clothing, processed wood, remains of stone buildings and tools, presumably used for household purposes, were found. Archaeologists also came across animal bones, which could be either food waste or part of burials. A study of the remains shows that the diet of the cave inhabitants was rich in protein, but over time the proportion of plant food from nearby oases increased. The caves were also used by pastoralists as temporary shelter during transitions between oases, facilitating trade. This hypothesis is confirmed by rock paintings depicting livestock. Rock art in Somaliland. The Glacial cave paintings complex in Somaliland is one of the most impressive and enigmatic archaeological sites in Africa. These approximately 9,000-year-old rock art sites display a high level of artistry and detail that makes them unique among similar sites. The paintings are housed in a series of caves and shelters protected from the elements, allowing them to be well preserved to this day. The cave walls depict scenes from the daily lives of ancient people, including hunting, rituals, and worship, as well as images of domestic animals such as cattle. Of particular interest are the images of anthropomorphic figures, which are rendered with striking realism and vibrant colors. The figures of people and animals are decorated with various patterns, which indicates the complex social and religious beliefs of the ancient artists. Some images include scenes of people holding hands or performing ritual movements, which may indicate religious or cultural rites. Also noteworthy are the images of cows with richly decorated horns, which may indicate the importance of cattle breeding in the lives of the ancient inhabitants of the region. Pocket computer of the 11th century. British historian Frederica Gigante discovered one of the oldest astrolabes from the 11th century with inscriptions in Arabic and Hebrew in an Italian museum. This astronomical instrument, used to measure angles and determine the positions of stars, became an important find in the museum in Verona. This artifact is so multifunctional that by modern standards it can easily be classified as a pocket computer. Frederica Gigante came across the device while browsing the museum's catalog online and asked for more information, but was told that the object had not yet been studied. Upon arrival at the museum, the scientist discovered not only Arabic but also difficult-to-see Hebrew inscriptions on the astrolabe, which, in her opinion, indicates scientific exchange between the Arab, Jewish, and Christian worlds over the centuries. Research has shown that the astrolabe may have been made in Al-Andalus, a Muslim region in Spain. The instrument retains Muslim prayers and Hebrew lines, highlighting its cultural and religious significance. The similarity of the found astrolabe with Byzantine and early European models confirms the hypothesis of its Iberian origin. This unique artifact is believed to have first come into the collection of Italian aristocrat Ludovico Moscardo in the 17th century and later passed to the Miniscalchi family, who founded the museum in 1990 to preserve their private collection. Hussar armor in Poland. Hussars, light cavalry that originated in medieval Hungary, played a key role in numerous historical battles. They were used by the Habsburgs to defend against the Ottomans and participate in European conflicts. The Polish Hussars became especially famous, participating in such battles as the Battle of Orsha in 1514 and the Siege of Vienna in 1683. Recently, in the Polish village of Mikulowice, local resident Patrick Chmielewski, using a metal detector, discovered partially preserved Hussar armor. The find includes several elements: elbow pads, shoulder pads, collarbone protection, and a helmet. The armor was found at a depth of 60 centimeters, and experts believe it dates back to the early 17th century. It is interesting that the armor found is devoid of decorative elements, which is typical for military equipment ordered not by magnates, but by more modest nobles. This indicates that the armor was made in a local workshop to the individual order of a wealthy owner. Stone toy has scientists baffled. An ancient stone figurine that looked like a children's toy was discovered during excavations in Iceland. The find was made in Seyðisfjörður and dates back to the Viking Age. The figurine depicts a four-legged animal with a chopped-off ear. Most archaeologists believe it is a pig, as the Vikings raised pigs for their meat. However, some researchers have suggested that the figurine may represent a bear, although bears are not native to Iceland. After posting the photos on social media, many users suggested that the image was of an Icelandic dog. Excavation director Ragnhildur Traustadóttir is skeptical of this version, noting that the facial features do not match a dog, based on his many years of experience as an Icelandic dog owner. Excavations at Seyðisfjörður, which began in 2020, have already yielded a number of interesting finds, including burial mounds, sheepfolds, Viking graves, and around 4,000 artifacts. While the exact purpose of the figurine is unknown, it is thought that it may have been carved to entertain children on winter evenings. Oldest calendar. Archaeologists have made a stunning discovery in Göbekli Tepe, Turkey, when they discovered the world's oldest calendar dating back 12,000 years. The discovery could change our understanding of early civilizations, as it shows that humans were able to measure time as early as 10,000 BC. This was long before the rise of ancient Greece and other known cultures. The calendar is carved into a stone column and contains 365 markings, indicating 12 months with 11 extra days. Symbols including the letter V can be seen at the top of the column, while the bottom depicts a bird holding a round object and a scorpion. These images may represent the sun and the zodiac signs. Research also points to a connection with a comet, which caused a cold snap that lasted 1,200 years. This event would have had a devastating effect on large animal species and may have caused significant changes to the region's ecosystem. Historians believe that such catastrophic events may have been a catalyst for the emergence of new religions and the development of agriculture, which in turn led to the formation of the first civilizations. Ancient graffiti in the fortress. The Sigiriya graffiti are unique inscriptions found on the walls of the ancient fortress of Sigiriya, located on top of a monolithic rock in central Sri Lanka. These graffiti represent one of the most important collections of ancient inscriptions on the island, dating from approximately the 5th to 8th centuries AD. They were left by visitors to the fortress, including poets, pilgrims, and travelers, on the mirror walls, polished surfaces that once decorated the inner halls and corridors of the palace. The Sigiriya graffiti are poetry, commentary, and personal impressions written in the Sinhala language using ancient forms of writing. Despite their historical value, the interpretation of the Sigiriya graffiti is controversial among historians. Questions about who exactly left these inscriptions, their social status, motives, and purposes remain open. Some researchers believe that the graffiti were created by members of the upper class who visited the palace, while others suggest that they may have belonged to pilgrims and merchants, indicating that the fortress was accessible to the general public. Ancient Roman supermarket in the ocean. Archaeologists have discovered an ancient Roman supermarket in the Channel Islands off the coast of France, where various goods were traded. Research began in 2008 and resulted in the discovery of 2 Roman coins pointing to this discovery. One coin shows Caesar as a teenager, another shows the emperor killed by the invading Goths. The island of Alderney, the northernmost of the Channel Islands, may have served the Romans as a trading post. Archaeologist Jason Monahan noted that remains of Roman buildings, including a grotto, were found here, indicating a continued Roman presence. They could monitor the ships bringing goods from the Mediterranean to France. Archaeologists believe that Roman soldiers lived on the island, controlling trade routes and protecting them from pirates. Families of soldiers and Roman officials may also have lived here. In 2017, using electrical equipment, Iron Age burials and parts of a Roman building were discovered on the island, confirming long-term occupation. Excavations revealed that the Roman-era building had 3 rooms. a courtyard, a paved area, and a rubbish dump where one of the coins was found, Antikythera, dating back to 255 AD, equivalent to 2 denarii. In another layer of the building was found a bronze coin of the Roman co-emperor Valens, dating from 367, who was killed at the Battle of Adrianople. The remains of a Roman fort were discovered approximately 27 meters from the building. Archaeologists believe many more Roman-era buildings may be hidden beneath the sand dunes, creating the effect of a mini Pompeii. Giant War Memorial. Archaeologists have discovered a 4,000-year-old memorial monument at the site of Banabazi in Syria that resembles the ancient Egyptian step pyramid at Saqqara. Known as the White Monument for the white sheen of its building materials, the man-made mound was first examined decades ago. Recent research has shown that around 2400 BC, the pre-existing mound was modified and expanded with a series of horizontal steps, each containing at least 30 burials sealed with layers of plaster. Ancient Mesopotamian texts mention war memorials where the bodies of enemies were piled up, although no such monuments have yet been found. However, the White Monument at Tel Banat appears to have served as a memorial for the settlement's inhabitants, rather than for enemies who died in battle. The discovery challenges some traditional ideas about Near Eastern archaeology. The monument was comparable in size to the step pyramid of Djoser at Saqqara, but was built of earth rather than stone. The burials at the White Monument were carefully placed, according to ritual customs, alongside military equipment, sometimes alongside missiles and animal skins. This fact indicates that the community sought to honor its warriors by creating a memorial in their honor. Burial of a German ancestor. Archaeologists have discovered the burial of a man belonging to the Alemanni people, who lived in what is now Germany nearly 2,000 years ago. Although only one burial has been found so far, researchers believe there may be more similar finds in the area. During a rescue excavation in Gerstetten, Germany, carried out in preparation for housing construction, archaeologists found a chamber grave of Alemanni. The Alemanni, a confederation of Germanic tribes, were first mentioned in 213 AD and were known for their settlement on the east bank of the Rhine River. During the excavation, the team found a wooden structure containing the remains of a man. Artifacts such as ceramic and glass vessels, a decorated comb, and a high-status glass goblet, likely from the nearby late Roman fort of Guntia, Günzburg, were found next to his skeleton. A sample of the man's rib was sent for radiocarbon dating to a lab in Mannheim, the results of which confirmed that the man likely died between 263 and 342 AD. Sunken ship with lead ingots. About 2,000 years ago, a Roman ship sank in the Mediterranean Sea with valuable cargo, including massive lead ingots. The heaviest of them weighs 68 kilograms, which is about 205 Roman pounds, according to the University of Alicante. Markings on the ingot indicate that it belonged to a Roman emperor, possibly Nero. In addition, there were about 3,000 cans of fish sauce on board the ship. This sauce, known as garum, was popular in Roman cuisine and was widely used as a seasoning. The ship was about 32 meters long and was probably en route from Cadiz to Rome when it sank. The ship not only carried valuable metals but also foodstuffs important to the Roman diet. Exploring the shipwreck provides a unique opportunity to study the shipbuilding technologies and trading methods of the ancient Romans. Test site. Peenemünde was one of the key sites of Nazi Germany, where the first ballistic missiles, including the famous V2, were developed and tested. Situated on the Baltic coast, this test site was not only a center of technical innovation, but also a symbol of German engineering might. Today, Peenemünde remains an important site for archaeological research, revealing little-known details of those years. Recent excavations at the site have yielded many interesting finds. Archaeologists have discovered fragments of V2 rockets that were used for testing. One of the most interesting discoveries was the cooling and fuel systems, which show how complex the development and testing processes were. Scientists have also found traces of the destruction wrought on the site in the final days of the war. Peenemünde was not just a missile testing site, it was a center of scientific research related to the creation of weapons that were ahead of their time. Who knows how this terrible war would have ended if the Germans had succeeded in creating ballistic missiles capable of causing enormous damage over gigantic distances. Ancient stone circles in Saudi Arabia. Archaeologists in Saudi Arabia have unearthed 8 ancient stone circles that served as habitations for people more than 7,000 years ago. Some 345 such structures have been identified through aerial photography in the Karat Uwairid lava field near the city of Alula in northwestern Saudi Arabia. The stone circles range from 4 to 8 meters in diameter and include at least one standing stone in the center. During excavations, archaeologists discovered many stone tools made of basalt. Almost 225 kilograms of stone tools or their fragments were recovered from only 5 circles. Bones of sheep, goats, and cows were also found. The finds included a variety of seashells from the Red Sea, located about 120 kilometers to the west. The round shape of houses was a global phenomenon in early architecture, and rectangular houses appeared later in the Neolithic period. The architecture of standing stone circles in Saudi Arabia is similar to structures found in Jordan, dating back approximately 500 years. The people who built these structures also raised sheep, goats, and cattle.
Golden pectoral from Tolstaya Mogola. Discovered in 1971 in the Dnipropetrovsk region of modern-day Ukraine, this artifact is one of the most impressive artifacts of the Scythian culture. This exquisite piece of jewelry dates back to the 4th century BC and was found in one of the largest Scythian burial mounds. The pectoral is a gold pectoral ornament weighing over 1 kilogram and measuring about 30 centimeters in diameter. It is made with a high degree of craftsmanship and detail, indicating the significant development of Scythian crafts and their cultural contacts with the Greek world. The pectoral is decorated with 3 rows of bas-reliefs depicting scenes from the life and mythology of the Scythians. The upper and lower rows contain realistic images of animals such as lions, griffins, deer, and birds, symbolizing strength and power. The middle row, the most complex and detailed, depicts scenes from the daily life of the Scythians. People working with horses, women preparing food, and figures engaged in crafts. These scenes may represent allegories or illustrations of mythological subjects related to the cosmology and religious beliefs of the Scythians. The mystery of the golden pectoral lies not only in its artistic value, but also in its symbolic meaning. It was found in a royal burial, which indicates that it belonged to a high-ranking person, possibly a king or a priest. The scenes on the pectoral may reflect the complex religious ideas and mythology of the Scythians associated with the cult of ancestors, the afterlife, and the worship of natural forces. Some researchers believe that the pectoral could have been used for ritual purposes, symbolizing the transition between the worlds of the living and the dead. Rate this video with your thumb up and tell your friends about it. Thanks for watching. Bye, everyone.